And I think Syriac religious people are very enthusiastic about Abraham coming from the area that they come from. As one of the biblical texts says, my father was a wandering Aramaean or Armenian, but it isn't really Armenian. Aramaean meant people speaking Aramaic in northern Syria and these places. Since we have someone in the room here from Syriac Church, we want to be particularly assiduous in giving her church credit for all of the early responses that took place there. So, in any case, she'll bear us out that this is an important area and that Abraham is an important figure for these people. And I have a picture in my James book of the pools of Abraham in the city of Edessa, and south of this is Haran. And this is where the Roman legions, I think it is that fellow who appears in the Julius Caesar episode played by Shakespeare, Crassus, or one of those persons, meets his fate at the Battle of Carrhae, which is near Haran, present-day Haran, south of Edessa, where that was Abraham's homeland according to the Bible. And the Persians defeat him. So this is an area the Persians and Romans are struggling over. Later on, Trajan goes out and fights in that area in the 100 period, and Hadrian too. And that area is constantly being fought over. The Persians are never subdued, but the Romans do finally take these areas under their control for a while. Certainly, Adiabene, as I said, it's present-day Kurdistan. So, that's why I emphasize all this geography, because I think it's very important to the book of Acts and early Christianity, and it has to do with, if you read the Roman historians, they're calling these kings and queens out here Arabs. So it has a lot to do with how the Romans are using the term Arab. A final point I want to make. In Syriac and related languages, bathing, ritual immersion that these groups like John the Baptist and his derivative groups deriving themselves. Remember, we heard that Simon Magus and Dositheus, this other leader, who will be mentioned, the Pseudo-Clementines, as students of John the Baptist from Samaria. These groups are all considered to be bathing groups, in particular daily bathing groups. And in southern Iraq to this day, down here, and I've got this down, there are bathers still, and the Arabs call them, after the Syriac, Subba, the Subba of the marshes. How many ever heard of Subba of the marshes? They've been in the news a little bit if you read the papers and all. You can Google them, I'm sure they'll pop up. The Subba of the marshes are the Sabans of the marshes. The Sabans in Arabic from Syriac means bathers. Now when Eusebius lists the different groups of Judeo-Christian sects, he includes under this another Syriac group called the Mazbutans. You have to look at the roots of all these, and here's the root. Mazbuta, again, Syriac for immersion. So these are, according to different languages, these pop up in the Quran. How many have read the Quran at all? You've had class with me. The Muslims today still speak of three protected groups: Jews, Christians, and what's the third protected group? That are not considered unbelievers, but are considered people of the book, dhimmis, to be protected by Islam, and that they shouldn't be destroyed. All others, it's Islam or the sword, idolaters and others. But not Jews, Christians, and Sabans. Everyone knows who the Jews and Christians are, but who are the Sabans? Oh, well, they think that it's southern Arabia, Ethiopia, because of the Queen of Sheba, and the fact that southern Arabia was called Saba. So they assume that the Sabans are the religion of southern Arabia. But the religion of southern Arabia has nothing to do with a book or monotheism or anything else. and what it probably really has to do with it, I'm convinced it does, are this intermediate group between Jews and Christians in northern Syria. We call them followers of John the Baptist, Mazgutayans, immersers, daily bathers, and even in Arabic still, we call them Suba, the plural for Sabaean. And the Suba of the marshes, what happened recently is that they lived in the marshes in southern Iraq, near where Izates, Helen's son, was first converted, down what we call the city of Basra, which was another Antiochia. I've got it in my James book at that time. I know this is complicated stuff. But these people are followers of John the Baptist to this day. They are bathing followers of John the Baptist. In English, we call them Mandaeans. I don't know where that term comes from, but you can do the literature of this group. They exist. And what Saddam did was he drained the marshes for various reasons. They had a lifestyle going back eons of time in these marshes. They have priests who dress in white called Nazarian, after our word Nazarene. They do ritual immersion, they do laying on of hands, they do all this sort of thing. They are total Judeo-Christians to this day. They have a lot of Gnostic ideology too mixed in. But they are a remnant, like a sort of fossil remnant of a bygone era. And they still exist. So when Saddam drained the marshes, he forced all these people out of the marshes in southern Arabia and destroyed their habitat. And many of them ended up in different cities in Iraq today. But now the U.S. and British authorities are letting the water back into the marshes. So they may be able to go back to their own lifestyle. And it's really an interesting subject for a paper, if anyone's interested in this topic, to do the Mandaeans or the Sabaeans or the Suba of the marshes. But they have their stories that they came from northern Iraq, northern Syria, originally, that the followers of John the Baptist fled to northern Syria, and it always goes to northern Syria and then come down to southern Iraq. So that's what I think is involved in calling the Ethiopian queen an Ethiopian queen, because I think what you're really saying is she's a Sabaean queen, and you're getting the same mistake as in Islam, that Sabaean is considered to be Sheba, Ethiopia, southern Arabia, when in fact she's a Judeo-Christian immersing queen. I know that's very complicated, but I think that's, you say, what, all that is behind this episode of Acts? Yeah, to my mind, that's what's all being covered over in this episode of Acts. Now, I know that's very vast bit of material. I try to cover it in my new book, as you know.